I like that. This is like Steve, is filming and is like, let me be next to JT because my brand just went up really good.
Totally. I'm demonstrating what you got to do, folks.
Yeah, I do the same thing too. It's just no one ever does it with me.
No one does it with you.
Well, they do now, but so he's very good, and part of what his understanding is it's all about speed of implementation. It's all about accountability. And you remember when we did the coaching call with Victor, where it was an auto, it was minus 26, and I was tired. And I'd come up with the idea, and I'd fall asleep on the floor. And then I'd wake up, and I'm like, you guys need more ideas? And Steve would be like, yeah. And I go like 5, 6 ideas, and then I'd fall back asleep because it was taking a long flights at red eye.
Oh, it was 27 degrees below zero. We were next to the fireplace. And I said, JT, you just fell asleep. He said, no, I didn't. I said, here, I had a picture of him.
Probably show it the next
You need to do a
time.
video with time frame on it. How long?
It wasn't very long, but it's like, oh my gosh.
Well, ironically enough, Victor is one of our top students there. And he'll say that the ideas that made him successful are the ideas that I came up with. You see, the problem is that no one could really take me for 8 full hours. I mean, I can't even take myself for more than an hour. But 8 full hours with me, you'd be like idea overload. How do you implement the idea? And that's where Steve comes in. I mean, that's, people always say they look at like I'll go to Nito and say, hey Nito, we only spent an hour together, one-on-one meeting. And he goes, JT, it's not the amount of time that we spend together, it's the value that you get from the time you spend. Do you go to a brain surgeon if it's supposed to be a 6-hour surgery and it ends up being a 3-hour surgery and say, well, I want half price because you only took 3 hours to fix my brain? No, it's the same kind of concept. Someone told me a story, a plumber goes to a house and spends 5 minutes and gets a bill for $150, and you're like, $150? He goes, yeah, $5 for the screw, and then $145 for where to hit. So the expertise of that. And he was actually coaching a client yesterday, who's actually John, who is going to be speaking on what I think is one of the most important topics, mindset selling and right-left brain selling. And I think that's going to be very powerful. In fact, I came up with that idea during a coaching session, and I just, you can't find anything about that. And left brain selling, right brain selling. 4 to 5% of the people are analytical, have to overthink things, accountants, lawyers, engineers, and 45% of the people are right brain, emotional, feelings, shiny penny syndrome, and then 10% of the people have no brain. So it really, we're talking about Congress. We should put that on the video too. So Steve is really good, and I think I always said to Steve that he's not the greatest speaker. Put that on the YouTube. But it's hard to speak after. I mean, we've talked this before. It's hard to speak after me, but Steve's got a lot of content. So I want you to sort of listen for the content of what it is, because he's very good. I mean, you and I made a very good team, and you want to tell him how we first met, or you want me to tell the story?
Go ahead, JT. You're on a roll.
So, go ahead. You can say it's your moment to shine. I'm done. So give a big warm applause for Steve.
Transformation. Transformation is recognizing where you're at, defining where you want to be in incremental steps of time. And when you have the definition of where you want to be and the acknowledgement of where you are, then you realize there's a gap. There's a gap. So transformation is about closing the gap. And how do we close the gap? We take very specific action steps to close the gap. Today, you're going to receive what is a brand new brand that I've created, which is the Transformational Blueprint. How many have heard me speak before at a JT Foxx event? Okay, let's see, there's one person here that I am currently coaching. Is there anyone else that I'm coaching that I have not acknowledged? Okay. So if you've heard me speak, or if you're being coached by me, then you know some of the fundamentals that I'm going to go over today. But I've got some really great new stuff for you that I think is going to further solidify in your minds what you need to do for your own transformation. Now, yesterday, JT talked about moving into the zone of being uncomfortable. Okay. I want you to think about that in a positive way, because transformation is all about moving into an area that you haven't experienced before in quite the same way. Okay. So how do you get comfortable with that? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the formula for being comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes any sense. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and maybe a better way of saying it might be being confident with being uncomfortable. I'll give you a personal example. I represent that very specific guidance today, being confident of being uncomfortable. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got a message that, in fact, John's sitting in the back of the room. He's a new student in the program, and JT asked me to spend a full day on site coaching John, and then in connection with that on-site coaching, to plan on speaking at this event today. And the information that I received was, it'll probably start the middle of the afternoon, and it'll probably be about 2 or 3 hours. Okay. I'm fine with that. I was very, very prepared for a 2 to 3 hour presentation. Yesterday at noon, Damien says to me, oh, by the way, some things have changed. We need you to go on at 11 o'clock and teach the whole day. Now, I got to tell you, there's a little bit of a difference between being in front of a group 3 hours versus 6 hours or 5 hours, whatever it may end up being. Okay? And I thought, okay, well, I know that I have enough material in me, but I wasn't prepared for the sequence of how that was going to be presented. So I just said, I'll get prepared. Do I have the confidence?